Experiment and Prophecy, the true story about participation in propaganda, by Anonymous. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. It might be a little lengthy, but your patience and attention is not only greatly appreciated, but it could be the determining factor as to whether or not our collective goals can be peacefully attained. This is the story about a propaganda piece intended to create a prophecy about how and when global elitist power might be replaced by more benevolent leadership. Most of the facts in this story are verifiably true, even though the conclusions drawn have yet to be determined. About a year and a half ago, back in September 2016, an experiment was conducted on Facebook with a small group of 50 individuals. These 50 people belonged to a group dedicated to social and spiritual change. These 50 people were self-proclaimed lightworkers, starseeds, truth seekers, spiritual people, and those considered to be purveyors of alternative news sources. The one conducting the experiment, henceforth referred to as the initiator, did so in agreement with one of the administrators of the Facebook group, who also chose to participate in the experiment herself. A post was generated, not unlike this story, inviting all 50 members of the group to participate in a conversation about unity. It was believed that clarifying each individual's personal mission and intention would naturally lead to a peaceful transference of global power away from the elite billionaires of the world. It was speculated this could be accomplished by reversing the detrimental effects of the fractional reserve system by focusing on personalized services over corporate interests. Depending on the results, the initiator promised to introduce specific instructions on how the group could use their diverse missions, skills, and talents to directly reverse the effects of the fractional reserve system. The focus group was given some guidelines to assure that no one person would dominate the conversation. These group participants were also encouraged to invite other like-minded individuals to participate in this collaboration. One such guideline was to ask each participant to invite and tag 2 others to participate. The initiator of the experiment disregarded likes or reactions, and rather paid close attention to who actively participated by offering thoughts, opinions, questions, and facts. Based on this participation, the initiator of the experiment was prepared to make a prophetic conclusion, citing one of the following results. Conclusion number 1. If only 5 or less, that is 10%, participated within a 48-hour period of the conversation's release, then unity was not attainable. Nothing short of an act of God, a catastrophe, or even an alien invasion would be enough to unite the people in becoming productive to overcome the problems of this world. If this were to be the result, then it seemed imminent that any resistance would be futile, because fear, inertia, and lack of trust would be far too great. After all, a conversation focused on peace must first take place before it can be planned out and enacted. In short, those observing the conversation would not truly believe that they had the power to influence anything. Conclusion number 2. If 6 to 10 people, that is 20%, participated within the 48-hour period, then transference of power away from the less than 1% of global elitist interests would be possible within 10 years. The 10 people who participated, that is 20%, would be enough of an indicator that a small percentage of the global population had enough initiative and knowledge to do something tangible for improving the state of the world. The initiator of the experiment would reason that this was enough potential energy to eventually tip the scales in favor of the other 98 to 99% of the population. Conclusion number 3. If 11 to 15 participants showed up, or 30% participated, then the conductor of the experiment was prepared to introduce a follow-up experiment. This follow-up experiment would be to redirect economic flow away from corporate interests and into a new service-based economy. The initiator estimated global changes would happen within 5 to 10 years. This would be because new technologies would be introduced into the mainstream, which would be directed towards benevolent purposes to the service of many over the elite few. Conclusion number 4. If 16 to 25 people showed up, or 50%, then the estimated global changes would happen in less than 5 years. This control group would have demonstrated both the desire and the initiative to collaborate with each other effectively without fear or suspicion. Conclusion number 5. If 26 people or more participated, that is over 50%, then the prophecy stated that the Earth would inevitably become a virtual utopia within 5 years or less. Economic control could easily and effortlessly be transferred from a system invested in conflict toward more collaborative investments between individuals. Get ready for a rapid change would be the saying, should conclusion number 5 become the reality. The actual results were completely unexpected. Only the initiator of the experiment had participated in the conversation within the first 5 hours of its release. Eventually, 2 of the group administrators participated by the 6th hour. Both the initiator and group administrators had to start pulling teeth to solicit participation before 2 more people eventually commented between hours 6 and 10. By the 12th hour, one of the administrators started receiving phone calls from other members of the Facebook group. These callers were genuinely in fear that participation in the discussion might be considered a demonstration of national treason. Some believed they would be detained and possibly imprisoned if they were to comment. Others called the group administrator by the phone and accused the person initiating the experiment of being a lunatic, possibly even a government shill or a mole, whose mission it was to smoke out national traitors. By the 13th hour, the group administrator pulled the plug on the experiment. She called the writer and apologized to him. She was just getting too much heat over this post. The individuals in the Facebook group were either clamoring in panic or blissfully unaware that anything of potential significance was happening at all within their group. In the end, the experiment was shut down not by Facebook, not by the elite or a government agency or any special interest group, but by the Anonymous Initiator's own peers. The end result revealed that 5 participants successfully engaged in the dialogue about changing the state of the world. Only 1 more would have been needed to reach conclusion number 2 before the plug was pulled 35 hours prematurely. Conclusion number 1 became the official prophecy, based on the results and the reaction of this propaganda piece. However, about an hour after the plug was pulled, the initiator checked his emails. Apparently, 1 person did contribute to the conversation before the experiment was removed. Literally, 1 person made the difference between the life sentence of conclusion number 1 and the eventual predicted liberation within 10 years promised by conclusion number 2. The following was this game-changing post, surprisingly written by a 60-year-old woman, which only the initiator and the group administrators had access to reading. Quote, "What the f***, people? Can't you see this is exactly what we have been waiting for? I am completely flabbergasted that no one else comprehends exactly what this experiment truly is. I would have participated immediately and shared with everyone I know had I seen this 13 hours ago. Wake the f*** up! Sorry for my language, but if the last 13 hours do not demonstrate what paralyzing inertia is, then I can't think of anything that could be more obvious," unquote. I will repeat that this experiment happened a 1.5 years ago, which leaves 8.5 years left on our propaganda clock. Does this time frame seem acceptable to you? Or would the 45,000 plus members of this group prefer to make a new wager on each other? Let's put 7 days on the clock this time. Experiment ends June 1st at midnight. Tick-tock.